incredible night. Oh my goodness. Road to Glory tournament night 1. 8 first round matches in that tournament. I mean,
main events.
8 main events, you're right. Yeah, absolutely off the charts. I mean, seriously.
It's Joanna Rose in between two thorns here for the post-show of PCW Road to Glory Night 1. We started off with El Ligero coming to the ring against a surprise opponent. And his surprise opponent was Ricardo Rodriguez.
And El Ligero, of course, I don't know, you know, Ricardo Rodriguez has been to the biggest stage of them all, but El Ligero has the experience in front of the PCW crowd, and, you know, that local experience seemed to pay off.
Absolutely, it was indeed El Ligero making his way through to the second round of the tournament.
And then, of course, we had Shah Samuels, and straight away Shah Samuels got on that mic and said this is the first time that he's actually had a proper fight in PCW, which, as we know, is not entirely true. However, he was against Dave Mastiff. Now that is a fight, and this resulted in a double count out. I mean, disappointing, the fans were not very happy with that, but I mean, I think it speaks volumes, doesn't it?
So where does that leave the tournament? Are both men out?
Both men are out, and someone gets a bye, I assume. But I spoke to Dave Mastiff backstage, and my goodness, he was livid. This is not over between Shah Samuels and Dave Mastiff.
Yeah, I don't think I'd want to face Dave Mastiff when he's angry. Definitely not. So we moved on then to Bubblegum, the PCW Cruiserweight Champion, interrupting me yet again. That seems to be his party trick. Bubblegum versus Ashton Smith.
And of course, I said to Bubblegum when I interviewed him backstage, nobody has denied the talent that the man has got. What is questionable is his methods of winning matches.
Yeah, and his attitude, his overall attitude. But yeah, the whole of Team Single, yeah, don't get me started on that as well. We won't get you started on that either. Moving on then to the musical chairs segment. I mean,
I like the musical chairs segment a lot.
A little bit of comedy.
Mainly because Viper won. Viper is your musical chairs champion.
Oh yeah, she just butted Dave Rain right out of the way. Excuse the pun.
She did, yeah.
It was good fun though.
It's great to have Eugene back in PCW. Can't wait to see what we're going to see from Eugene tomorrow.
And of course, after that, the tournament continued.
Yeah, Rampage Brown won half of the PCW Tag Team Champions against Matt Hardy. Now this was a good match. This was a really good match, and it was
hard hitting.
Yeah, hard hitting. Yeah, heart stopping. Yeah. And of course, Matt Hardy got the win, even although Bubblegum came out to help Rampage Brown.
What was Bubblegum thinking?
Well, again, I interviewed Rampage Brown backstage, asked him, you know, did he need to have the other members of Team Single with him in order to win? And
you're lucky to be alive, mate.
Well, I can't repeat what was said.
I think the answer is a resounding no, and actually it showed that Bubblegum did not help him at all, because Matt Hardy picked up the win and advances to the next round of the tournament.
Next up we had his tag team partner T-Bone in action against Carlito, who,
again,
well, he was pretty cool.
Yeah, another
pretty cool.
Entrant into this tournament, yeah, last minute. It was a good match again, like both guys around about the same size. Yeah, and I mean, what can we say?
What can we say? We had one hell of a match, but it was T-Bone making his way through into the next round.
Yeah, which can't have pleased Rampage Brown actually, but
of course T-Bone is a former PCW champion.
That's true. Yeah.
Does he want to recapture that gold? And I've got to ask, Bubblegum went through and T-Bone went through. There's always the possibility of those two meeting later in the tournament.
True.
I'd love to see
Very
that.
true. What would Rampage Brown do then? You know, with all their cheaty tactics.
Absolutely.
Who's he gonna support there? Then we move on to Will Ospreay, the aerial assassin Will Ospreay. We haven't seen Will too much in PCW, but he certainly made an impact against
love him,
John
Joanna.
Morrison. Yeah, I mean, what an incredible match, full of high spots. And I mean, at one point I was really cringing. I was thinking, oh my goodness, how can he do that? Will, I mean, his body just absolutely, I know we've said it about other people, but defies gravity.
They pulled out all the stops. No two men. I just can't. Sometimes I think that these people are superhuman.
Yeah.
John Morrison and Will Ospreay just pulled out everything they had in their bag, but it was Morrison who made his way through to Morrow's
has picked up the win. However, I don't think we've seen the last of Will Ospreay in PCW by a long shot. Then we move on to quite an interesting match actually. Martin Kirby and Christopher Daniels, who
Some said this was father versus son.
Right, yeah, no, actually, it is quite difficult to tell them apart, isn't it? We heard that old chant, which one's which. And
I personally think they've got a fabulous hairdo.
yeah, well, of course,
You
yeah.
would.
Although you did look good as a blonde as well, I have to say.
That wasn't me.
Oh, beg your pardon. So anyway, these two, yeah, I mean, at the end, I was kind of thinking, who am I announcing as the winner? Because they both look so alike, but Martin Kirby's picked up the win there, quite justifiably.
In all seriousness, something like Martin Kirby versus Christopher Daniels does not come very often, and they did not disappoint. I can't wait to see what we're going to see tomorrow in the tournament.
And just before we move on to talking about the main event, which, as Richard Parker earlier pointed out, probably the biggest pop in PCW to date, I just want to mention something about the raffle. Uha Nation and I were actually discussing the raffle beforehand because he was going to come out and help me. He was asking me how to do it, etc., what the prizes were. And we did mention that it is quite funny when you pick out numbers that are related to wrestling in some ways. So 316, 619. And Uha Nation said to me, oh yeah, that'd be funny, I'm going to say that anyway. And I said, well, you can't, because actually, if there isn't a 619, nobody's won anything. And then he actually went and picked out number 619. 619 was actually a winner. I mean, you just couldn't make that up.
I mean, Uha was having great fun out there. Great fun, you know, joining with the crowds, Uha and all that.
But he has got a tough time ahead of him tomorrow.
That's what I was going to say. He is up against Chris Masters, and the loser leaves PCW. The stakes couldn't be higher. The belts and their careers.
I sat down with both men last night at the PCW TV studio. Both men very, very confident. Both men are very concerned. They do enjoy being part of the PCW roster, and as you've just said, Mark, one of them's got to go.
What are we going to see in that match? What's it going to take to put away either Uha or Chris Masters? Because neither one of those men is going to want to lose. You might have to knock someone out to win that match.
And actually, I think despite everything, there's a lot of respect between those two, which is good to see. And that is going to be incredible to watch tomorrow evening. But now we move on to tonight's main event, which was a first round match in the Road to Glory tournament. Joey Hayes, Lionheart. Now,
Do you know, I was trying to get an interview all night with Lionheart backstage. I never even asked him. The man was just pacing backwards and forwards in the
So
locker room.
intense.
I have never ever seen anybody so intense before a match. I spoke to his mum and dad who were here tonight. His dad was quietly confident, his mum was showing some nerves, but
of course, yeah.
of course, what a performance.
I mean, you can imagine what it must have been like for that guy's folks. It's only 12 months since he broke his neck in that very ring. And he's back, and he's in the tournament, and he's gunning for that trophy.
And he really showed some heart, actually, because he picks up that win and he does advance to the next round of the tournament, and deservedly so.
If you haven't got your tickets for our shows tomorrow, there are so few left. You need to get here to Preston to see some of the best wrestling in all of the UK.
So guys, I've got to ask, your one pick to win the Road to Glory tournament?
Do you know what I'm going to say? It's probably very predictable, but I think that intensity is going to pay off and Lionheart's going to pick up the win for the tournament this year.
Mark?
I want Lionheart to win so much. I really want Lionheart to win. I want him to prove you right,
So,
but I'm not sure.
Well, I'm going to go slightly left field and say T-Bone.
interesting. You think he wants to go back after that PCW heavyweight title actually at some point?
Don't they all?
Who wouldn't?
Very true. So guys, please join us tomorrow. We have an afternoon show and an evening show. It's going to be absolutely incredible. The roof is going to be blown off Evoke in Preston. For Magic Mark, Richard Parker, I'm Joanna Rose. We'll see you tomorrow.